What if losing billions of dollars was actually the smartest business move ever made? 1994, started in a garage. 2024, controls the entire internet. What happened? What if I told you that one of the richest companies on earth lost money on purpose for over 20 years? Not by accident, not because they failed, but because losing money was their entire strategy. Wall Street analysts called it suicide. Competitors thought they were insane. Even investors were terrified. But Jeff Bezos, he just smiled and kept burning through cash like it was his job. Because it was his job. This is the story of how Amazon broke every single rule of business and won anyway. How they turned losses into weapons. How they made patience more powerful than profit. And how one man's crazy vision became a trillion-dollar empire that controls what you buy, what you watch, and literally keeps the internet running. Buckle up, because this story is wild. Let's dive in. The garage that changed everything. Picture this. It's 1994. Jeff Bezos is crushing it on Wall Street. Six-figure salary. Corner office. The American dream, right? Then he reads one statistic that changes his life forever. The internet is growing at 2,300% per year. His mind explodes. He realizes this isn't just growth. This is a tsunami. And he's got two choices. Watch it happen from the sidelines, or grab a surfboard and ride it. So he does something absolutely bonkers. He walks into his boss's office, quits his dream job, and tells his wife, "We're moving to Seattle. I'm gonna sell books on the internet." She probably thought he'd lost his mind. But guess what? She packed the car anyway. Now here's the part that gives me chills. His parents, who spent their entire lives saving money, hand him $300,000. Their retirement money. Can you imagine that conversation? "Hey mom, dad, trust me on this internet thing." Most parents would slam the door, but they believed. July 1995. Amazon goes live, and almost immediately, something magical happens. Week 1, they're shipping books across America. Week 2, international orders start flooding in. No ads, no billboards. Just pure, organic, explosive growth. But here's what nobody knew. Bezos wasn't building a bookstore. He was building a trap. Books were just the bait. From day one, his vision was to sell everything. He chose books strategically because they don't break, they're easy to ship, and there are millions of titles. It was the perfect Trojan horse. By 1997, Amazon goes public at $18 a share, and Bezos does something that makes Wall Street lose its collective mind. He writes a letter to shareholders that basically says, "Hey everyone, we're not going to focus on profits. We're playing the long game. If you want quick money, leave now." Nobody does this. CEOs are supposed to promise profits, growth, dividends. But Bezos just stood there and said, "Nah, we're different." Some investors bailed immediately. They thought he was delusional. Those investors, they haunt their decisions every single day, because the ones who stayed became insanely rich. The genius madness weaponizing losses. Okay, now we get to the really juicy part. The strategy that changed business forever. Traditional business is simple, right? Make product. Sell for more than it costs. Keep profit. Repeat. That's been the game for literally thousands of years. But Bezos looked at that playbook and literally threw it in the trash. Amazon's strategy was radical. Take every single dollar you make. Spend it on growth. Actually, forget that. Spend more than you make. Build warehouses. Hire people. Expand to new products. Lower prices. Lose money. And do it intentionally. From 1994 to 2015, Amazon lost billions. Quarter after quarter, Wall Street analysts were having meltdowns. They can't sustain this. The bubble will pop. This is insanity. Bloomberg, Forbes, every financial publication was writing Amazon's obituary. But here's what they completely missed. Bezos wasn't trying to win this year. He was trying to build something so massive, so dominant, that nobody could ever compete with it. He was building an economic fortress. Think about the brilliance here. While Walmart, Target, and Best Buy were celebrating their quarterly profits and throwing parties for shareholders, Amazon was building fulfillment centers in every major city. They were creating Amazon Prime, which cost them money at first. They were experimenting with drones, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence. And then comes the ruthless part. Every time Amazon entered a new market, they'd do the same brutal dance: cut prices below cost, absorb the losses. Wait. Selling books, undercut Barnes & Noble until they bleed. Electronics, destroys Circuit City's margins. Toys, sorry, Toys R Us, goodbye. Diapers, diapers.com, put up a good fight, but Amazon just burned money until they surrendered. This wasn't just competition. This was economic warfare, and Amazon had an unfair advantage. Their investors believed in the long-term vision. They had patience. They had capital. They could afford to lose money for years. But their competitors, traditional retailers who needed quarterly profits to survive, they were fighting with one hand tied behind their backs. You can't compete against someone who's willing to lose money to destroy you. It's like bringing a knife to a nuclear war. Borders collapsed. Circuit City vanished. Thousands of small bookstores closed forever. Amazon's strategy wasn't just effective, it was devastating. And Bezos knew something everyone else didn't. If they could just survive long enough, scale would eventually make them unstoppable. The bigger they got, the cheaper they could operate. And when that tipping point hit, profits would flood in automatically. The secret weapon nobody saw coming. Now we arrive at the twist. The plot turn that changed everything. The moment Amazon went from crazy online bookstore to digital empire that runs the world. I'm talking about Amazon Web Services. Early 2000s. Amazon's building this massive tech infrastructure just to keep their website running during Christmas shopping madness. Huge data centers, powerful servers, cutting-edge cloud technology. They had to, or their site would crash when millions of people flooded in. But then someone on Bezos's team notices something interesting. For like 9 months of the year, all this expensive infrastructure is just sitting there, barely used. It's like owning a stadium that only hosts events twice a year. And that's when the light bulb moment happens. Bezos thinks, what if we rent this out? What if other companies could use our computing power to run their businesses? In 2006, Amazon Web Services launches. And let me tell you, Silicon Valley's mind was blown. Before Amazon Web Services, if you wanted to start a tech company, you needed millions in funding just for servers and infrastructure. You had to predict how big you'd grow, buy equipment up front, and pray you got it right. It was a nightmare. Amazon Web Services flipped the script completely. Now, you could start a company from your bedroom. Need computing power? Rent it from Amazon. Pay only for what you use. Scale up when you grow. Scale down when you don't. It was revolutionary. Startups went crazy for it. Netflix, running on Amazon Web Services. Airbnb, Amazon Web Services. Spotify, Amazon Web Services. Even the freaking CIA signed up. Amazon was literally powering the competition, the government, and half the internet simultaneously. And here's where it gets absolutely insane. Amazon Web Services became a money-printing machine. While Amazon's retail side was operating on razor-thin margins, barely making profit, Amazon Web Services was generating margins of like 30% or more. In 2023 alone, Amazon Web Services made over $90 billion with massive profitability. For comparison, Amazon's entire retail operation typically runs on margins of 5% or less. Do the math. Amazon Web Services wasn't just profitable, it was subsidizing everything else. This is the 4D chess move that nobody saw coming. While the media obsessed over Amazon losing money on books and diapers, Bezos had quietly built the most profitable cloud computing business on Earth. Amazon Web Services became the cash cow that funded every other crazy experiment Amazon wanted to try. Want to lose money on Prime shipping? Amazon Web Services profits cover it. Want to undercut competitors on price? Amazon Web Services has your back. Want to invest billions in experimental tech? Amazon Web Services money makes it possible. Suddenly, Amazon's losing money strategy made perfect sense. They weren't losing money as a company. They were strategically losing money in retail while Amazon Web Services printed billions in the background. It was genius, pure genius. And it proved something crucial. Amazon wasn't a retailer at all. They were a technology company disguised as a store. They were playing an entirely different game than everyone thought. The E-empire strikes Amazon today. Fast forward to right now. Amazon is worth over $1.5 trillion. Let that sink in. Trillion. With a T. Jeff Bezos, even after his divorce and stepping down as CEO, is one of the richest humans who's ever lived. The guy who started in a garage now owns the Washington Post, Blue Origin space company, and has enough money to buy small countries. But here's what blows my mind. Amazon still operates on thin margins in retail. They're still playing the same game. Growth over profit, dominance over dividends. They've just gotten so massive that even tiny margins on enormous volume equals astronomical money. Amazon Prime? Over 200 million subscribers worldwide. People literally pay Amazon for the privilege of shopping there more. Think about how insane that is. They created a subscription model where customers want to spend more money with them because they've already paid the membership fee. It's psychological genius. And the flywheel just keeps spinning faster. More customers generate more data. More data creates better recommendations. Better recommendations drive more sales. More sales let them lower prices. Lower prices attract more customers. It's a self-reinforcing loop that never stops. They're in everything now. E-commerce? Obviously. Cloud computing? Dominating. Streaming with Prime Video? Check. Smart home devices with Alexa? Yup. Grocery stores with Whole Foods? Done. They're even pushing into healthcare, satellite internet, and autonomous delivery. But let's be real for a second. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Amazon faces massive criticism. Workers in fulfillment centers report brutal conditions. Some say they can't even take bathroom breaks. The company's accused of crushing small businesses, creating monopolies, and having too much power over the economy. Bezos built an empire, but it came with a cost. The question everyone's asking, was it worth it? And honestly, the answer depends on who you are. A shareholder who invested early. You're thriving. A customer who loves cheap prices and 2-day shipping. You're happy. A small business owner who got crushed by Amazon's pricing. You're devastated. A warehouse worker pulling 12-hour shifts. You're exhausted. Amazon's success story isn't clean. It's complicated. It's ruthless. And it raises serious questions about capitalism, ethics, and power. The LSNs. So what's the real lesson here? What can we actually learn from Amazon's insane journey of weaponizing losses? Lesson number 1. Long-term vision destroys short-term thinking. Every single time, Bezos sacrificed 20 years of profits to build unstoppable dominance. Most people can't think past next quarter. Most companies can't survive without profit. But if you can play the long game, if you can endure the pain, ignore the critics, and stay focused, the rewards are exponential. Lesson number 2. Scale is everything. Amazon's ability to lose money only worked because they kept growing. If they had stayed small, those losses would have killed them. But because they expanded relentlessly, they reached a point where their size itself became an unbeatable advantage. When you're big enough, the rules change in your favor. Lesson number 3. Diversification saves companies. Amazon didn't put all their eggs in one basket. Retail struggling? Amazon Web Services carries the weight. One division losing money, another makes billions. This made them resilient, adaptable, and nearly impossible to kill. Lesson number 4. Customer obsession is the ultimate weapon. Bezos always said he was obsessed with customers, not competitors. By focusing relentlessly on lower prices, better selection, and faster delivery, Amazon created fanatical loyalty. And that loyalty translated into market domination that competitors couldn't touch. But here's the final lesson, and it's the darkest one. In business, if you have enough resources and enough patience, you can outlast almost anyone. Amazon's strategy wasn't just smart, it was ruthless. They used their access to capital to wage economic warfare on competitors who couldn't afford to lose money. It worked brilliantly. But it also raises uncomfortable questions about fairness, competition, and the concentration of power in our economy. Jeff Bezos took a crazy idea, an online bookstore in a garage, and turned it into one of the most powerful companies in human history by doing something that seemed completely insane: losing money on purpose. He bet everything on the future. He ignored the critics. He played the longest game anyone had ever played, and the future paid him back 1 trillion times over. So the next time someone tells you that you have to make profit to succeed, remember Amazon. Sometimes the rules of business aren't rules at all. Sometimes they're just suggestions. And if you're bold enough, smart enough, and patient enough to see what others can't, you can rewrite those rules entirely and change the world in the process. Thanks for watching. If this deep dive blew your mind, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories about the crazy strategies behind the world's biggest companies. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you think Amazon's strategy was pure genius or ruthlessly unfair? I want to hear your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one.